Okay, we're ready to begin with the United States Air Force Academy. Before we begin, if I could ask you to mute your cell phones. Also, when we ask a question of the student athletes or coach, if you could state your name and affiliation. These press conferences are being scripted as well as recorded, and we appreciate your help in that. For the Air Force Academy, we have student athletes Katie Hilbig, Diamond James, Coach Andrea Williams. Coach, if we could start with you, just some general comments on this afternoon's game.
We had a focused game plan. My team and kids gave everything that they had, great energy and focus. We'd been that spot before. We'd been up at halftime by 2. I knew we needed to come out and again make big plays. Had a little spurt where they were able to get back-to-back offensive putbacks, and that kind of broke the camel's back. But then we battled back, got it within 2 possessions. So we felt good. We're very disappointed. We thought that's a team we could beat, even though they're number 1 in the league. And I'm just proud of the way my team came back and focused for the 3rd time seeing them.
Okay, thank you, Coach. Now we'll take questions for the student athletes first, and then we'll come back to Coach.
Mick McGrain, Mountain West senior writer. Katie, at the half, you guys seem to have Courtney Clemens pretty well under control. How big of a key was that? And if you could have carried that out, you think you could have been successful?
Well, Courtney Clemens is obviously a very good player in the conference, so it was pretty key to try to keep her scoring under her average. And we were doing a good job at halftime. And then the second half, we kind of got lost her a couple times, and that definitely affected it. But I think that, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Katie, could you just talk about what you did I mean, usually you ended up with against Courtney. What did you do so well against her, especially in the first half?
I don't know. It was just part of the game plan. In practice, probably over half of our practices, we all focus on defense. I had a team behind me that I could rely on if I ever lost her a couple times. Just communicating, because I wasn't on her the whole time. We were switching a lot, so my teammates, they picked it up. They did a tremendous job helping me out with her.
Go ahead.
I wanted to ask, Andrew, how many different defenses did you run today? It seems like you guys were switching almost possession by possession at times.
Yes, there you caught on. I couldn't tell you that last week. That was one of our plans. We put in half our game plan for New Mexico. The kids responded well. You want their point guard to think every time they come down the floor. It's one of the surprises we have. And so we went with 5 different switching defenses and what we wanted to do out of them. And then we went back to a couple of staple zones that we did. And then we brought back 22, which we hadn't played in a long time, just to slow them up and do some things and make them think how they wanted to attack. So they were never really comfortable. And I think that kept them off kilter in the first half, just the different looks. And again, our kids have been working on that game plan for a week and a half, close to 2 weeks now with New Mexico in here. So again, you had our leading defender going to be on Courtney Clemens, trying to slow her down. We'll switch Jay onto her. We'll put a smaller defender, Austin, on her a little bit, and try to keep track of her in that zone.
Diamond, what was the difference in the first half and the second half, in your opinion?
Let's see. I'd have to say a little bit of focus and energy. We, I don't know, we had a good 5-10 minute period where we kind of lost it, and we let Courtney Clemens get 2 offensive rebounds, putbacks. But I would say the focus kind of dropped off for one of the media timeouts. So.
Andrew, could you just address, it's kind of awkward with her here, why Diamond didn't play in your regular season finale, why she didn't start today?
That's a team decision.
Is that something you can learn from Diamond?
Yes, yes.
What lessons do you learn from that?
I don't know, always.
Frank, it's just a coaching decision. We'll go with something else. Play of the day, please.
Could you just, Andrew, could you just talk about, maybe.
Can we, let's stick with the student athletes first and then come back to Coach. We'll let them go over here.
Ann Schatz with the Mountain. Katie, Diamond, when you look at this season, and obviously you played very, very hard today, and that the regular season finale win over the Lobos, how does this shape up where you can bring a little bit of momentum into next year? Your assessment of this season, was it a disappointment in some respects overall? And does this bode well, this energy, for next season?
Well, let's see. I think we can take some momentum into this. We beginning of the season, we lost 2 players. Katie and I both went through ankle injuries for a long time. I don't know, we've been through a lot of ups and downs, and we still came out 6-24. So, I mean, there's nothing to be disappointed here. We definitely should have got this win today. But, I mean, going against the #1 team, they're going to find a way to win. But, yeah, there should be momentum. I mean, we're coming back with everyone except for our lone senior, Jay. So, I mean, we can't do anything to get better from this.
Yeah, I think that we're a much better team than our record shows. I mean, we just went out and we were beating the #1 seed at halftime. That clearly shows that our record isn't necessarily, like, you got to look at more than our record there. I mean, we've been very close with almost every team in the conference in many of our games. We're getting better, and we're going to find a way to win next year.
Any other questions for our student athletes? Okay, we'll dismiss them at this time. Thank you, ladies. Now we'll take questions for Coach Williams.
Andrew, could you just talk about the fact that you were up on this team and you played them really well? They're the best team in your conference. What does that say about this team and maybe where it's going and what you guys maybe could have accomplished this year if a couple more breaks this way injury-wise?
We think we're going in the right direction. Again, we want to be competitive in every game. We've had to manufacture some shots. We struggle when people go into zone. So that's one of the things we worked on the last 2 weeks where we want to look for zone. And so we knew when we lost 3 shooters, one to graduation, transfer, and one didn't want to play, that hurt us tremendously. Again, I had a team with a lot of people who played roles last year. They knew their role in that limited amount, but they did it very well, meaning minutes or defender, or we know what we could do on the offensive end with them. And now they had to play both ends of the floor and play some more minutes for us. So, again, it's just us going out recruiting and adding to the pieces. But our kids believe the greatest thing we had going for us is we definitely believe we're going to be in this game. We definitely believe we could win this game. We didn't mind the seeding, didn't mind who we were playing. And so our kids were focused, have been focused, and have been fired up. So, again, it's a good building block from where we are. No way means are we done, and we want to turn those close losses into wins in the future.
What were you thinking at halftime when you guys were up?
That we were up, that we had been in that position before at our place. I was very happy that we were hitting shots. That's usually been our nemesis, not be able to hit shots. It's not that we couldn't trade baskets with them in the past. And our defenses were working, taking them out of what they wanted to do, at least the tempo-wise. And then just concerned that we needed to maintain that. You knew they were going to come back fired up, focused, regroup, and say to themselves, we're the #1 seed. We're playing for something even more. And so our job was to knock them off and have a perfect, game plan. Things go flawless. You can't have about 3 or 4 minutes or 2 missed offensive board putbacks, and that gets them going. But I'm proud on some of the other things where we stuck with the game plan today. Our kids knew it, knew the scout, limited them 1 for 9 from 3-point range, so that's a huge bonus. That helps us stay in games.
And just want to ask one more thing. What happened in the second half? What did they do differently or better to beat you guys?
It's called the Player of the Year, and the conference got a little ticked off and said, I'm Player of the Year. They started trying to go to her. Chelsea started driving in the middle and then dumping to the, who's going to be open you want her to see. And so we need to bounce back from that, change up our defenses. But when you have Player of the Year and probably Point Guard of the Year, you're gonna go to your bread and butter. So I was proud of how our kids responded. Then in the second half, we were able to spread them and do some things. But again, that's a veteran team. But our kids, we just had those lulls when the putback rebounds that hurt us from Courtney.
Coach Adam Candy with UNLV Radio. You touched on this a little bit with the defensive switches, but can you go into a little bit more about why, not just this matchup, but your previous matchups, you have been able to kind of, not to use the word again, but match up well against the San Diego State squad. Why do you think that is? Our
kids just really love that challenge. It's the #1 team. It's a top team. If you're going to beat somebody, let's do that. Again, and we're going to play a lot of man, and we'll be successful against man, so that helps us quite a bit. And then we knew where we might be able to get some shots, and that's where some of our kids were a little gun-shy right in the beginning because they were wide open, like, oh, the stuff's working and stuff like that. So it's just always been a good matchup, a good rivalry. You want to get them up on the mountain, so they have to run at our pace, and at 7,000 feet, we go down there at sea level. But again, we've shown great halves with them, and our kids don't back down. That's what you want when you're starting to really build on your program, what you want to do. And it's one of the teams we have beaten in the past, so that's always lurking in the back of their minds, which helps. But it's just a good, fun matchup. You want to start building that rivalry.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Coach Williams? Right here.
Andrea, back to your point about the confidence you had coming into a game like this against a top seed. Could you have said that about this team a year ago? And are you maybe a little further ahead of the curve than you thought you might be right now?
Year 2 was tough. I don't know if we're ahead of the curve, but the one thing we did have is confidence. I mean, it's weird because we'd won last year in the first round, and that's all our kids knew. We knew you'd come in the first round ready to play no matter who, we're going to win. And for us beating Colorado State last year was a huge, tremendous step for the belief in all the players in the locker room. So this week, the week before, when we were talking about New Mexico, knocking them off for senior night, leading in the conference tournament, we have been playing our best ball. It takes us about a year, but then you want to be playing your best ball at the end of the year. So the confidence level was there, which is great to have. If you just take our record and go 6-24, you're the ace seed, you don't have a chance. But our kids are so fired up when it's going to be a great man-to-man matchup. We're going to try to go to a slugfest with them, and then we don't quit. And you try to press for us to get a couple more possessions because we're going to need a couple more possessions. And again, make layups and run a flawless offense a little bit. So I'm glad that we weren't rattled. I'm glad that we were fired up, but we're moving in the right direction. And it's always better when your team believes. I mean, there's no doubt. We're like, okay, we got San Diego State. It's a great matchup. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Coach. San Diego State will be out in 1 minute.